Title of this video is Prius lead acid battery. Okay, you think of Prius, the battery that he's talking about must be the battery that drives the electric motor in the hybrid. No, believe it or not, a Prius needs a 12-volt battery just to power the electronics. And also, a very important thing is to turn on the high voltage battery. The high voltage battery isn't connected until you get a command or electrical command from the 12-volt battery. So we've got to have a 12-volt battery. So I'm going to be covering all sorts of pieces of the Prius because it's a really good way to learn about electricity and electronics. So, lead acid. There is lead in there and there's acid, but there's also lead sulfate and lead peroxide and this acid, which is sulfuric acid. So I'm going to show you a nice picture and talk about the chemistry of all this. Here's a diagram of the lead acid battery, and we see that the sulfuric acid is in there. So this isn't the lead acid battery isn't a very handy thing to have around the house because it's got this acid in there. But anyway, let's keep going on here. The one side is mostly lead when it's charged up. It's mostly lead, and as it discharges, it will become, through a chemical reaction, lead sulfate. This other side is lead dioxide, two oxygens there, and as it chemical reaction occurs, it also becomes lead sulfate. So once we're fully discharged, the lead is pretty much gone and it's mostly lead sulfate, and the lead dioxide over here is pretty much lead sulfate. So what if we don't connect this wire between the two? If we don't connect the wire, then here's what happens to the chemical reaction. I've got lead, and I didn't talk about the sulfuric acid. We've got sulfuric acid, and once we get it in water, it becomes ionized due to the properties of water. So we've got water here also. Let me put the H2O for water. And the properties of water ionize this pure sulfuric acid. So it's not pure sulfuric acid, or this battery wouldn't work either, because we need these things to turn into ions. So we've got two hydrogen ions and one sulfate ion out of every H2SO4 molecule. Now let's look at this equation. Okay, lead plus the sulfate ion will become lead sulfate, but those two electrons that were there on the ion, they're free. So I've got two free electrons. On the other side, let's see, if I have lead dioxide and the sulfate ion plus 4 hydrogen ions and 2 electrons that'll fill in for the hydrogen ion, then I can make lead sulfate. But if I don't have those 2 electrons to start with, then nothing happens here. So only when I connect the wire between these two, now this squiggly line, that represents the load or the resistance there, and in terms of the Prius, this would be the radio electronics and all those kinds of things. So once I connect the wire, these two free electrons go over here, complete this reaction, they go over here, complete this reaction, and if I short circuit this thing, it'll discharge really fast, and I've got like 900 amps going across there really fast, and then it's all a dead battery. Now, I hope that kind of gives you an idea how the lead acid battery works. Now, what's the voltage up here? Well, this is only one cell of the battery, and this voltage here is about 2.1 volts. And there's the cell of the battery. How many cells are in a 12-volt battery? That's going to be 6 cells times 2.1. So that'll give you about 12.6. The actual cell value might be a little bit higher than this, higher than the 2.1. And so a fully charged battery, I think of a fully charged battery as 13.6 volts. And if we divide that by 6, what do we get? 2.8? 2.8 volts. Maybe we better scratch that idea. Anyway, I hope this gives you an idea of the lead acid battery, and we'll go next to how the lead acid battery starts its work on turning on the high voltage battery.